Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Ghosts and Spirits video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do another entry here. This one yet again based on one of your new suggestions. This one having to do with an actual location than let's say something involving a specific ghost. In fact, reading the information associated with this location, I found it so fascinating. This is definitely a place where I want to be able to go check it out one day, maybe add it to my bucket list of stuff. I love to hear what those of you that are on the local level have to say about this place, but it definitely has its hauntings. In fact, you're looking at a representation of it now. It's a gorgeous looking place over there in California. And in this case, we're going to talk about the many hauntings of Turnbull Canyon. So let's go ahead and let's talk about those hauntings here. And then again, I'll give my own thoughts and opinions on it afterward. And as always, anyone local, let me hear what you have to say about this place too. So here's essentially what this place is about. So Turnbull Canyon is a place that's located there in California, specifically at an area called Hacienda Heights. And if you go there to this day, apparently it's there for viewing purposes, outdoor recreations. You can stay overnight, hiking trails as well. I imagine there's lots of people that go there and also walk their dogs and so on. It definitely looks like a serene, peaceful place. I imagine mostly to the day, but at some points during night or maybe even during the day itself, that's where you have this place almost take on another Twilight Zone level. In fact, reading the information tied to it, I got the impression more that this would be more along the lines of a Silent Hill type location rather than anything else. Not only does this place have ghosts, but there's also rumors associated with curses, Native American curses too, and it all ties into apparently also having a bunch of accidental deaths linked there too, and then also, get this, cultists, apparently people that were either devil worshippers or some other type of evil worshippers that happened to be there at that land, and it caused havoc on that location afterwards. So it's been nicknamed Hell's Gates to be specific. And looking at least online, I see other people have visited this location as well to try to see what they encounter with these legends, try to find proof and so on. So anything involving Turnbull Canyon, you definitely have a multiple choice when it comes to this location. Now, the very first instance, as far as what could be tied to this place, its paranormal aspects and so on, has to do way back when, essentially whenever at the time that Native Americans lived there. In fact, they called the place the Hutulegna, which I believe translated to the dark place. This was mentioned as being a haunted place afterward because, as it turns out, once the Spanish colonized that location, they pretty much forced a lot of the Native Americans out of that location. And when they did so, they had two choices: either A, convert to their version of Christianity, or B, be killed. Either way, though, there was going to be some turmoil, either from people being forcibly removed or others that were outright killed. But there's a sense that many of those deaths of the Native Americans still haunt this location there at Turnbull Canyon. In fact, many hikers state that they always feel like they're getting watch, especially when they go deep inside the location there, deep into the hikes themselves. That's when they feel that it's something else, like there's almost something both paranormal, spiritual, but dealing with ancestors, and that's the location there at Turnbull Canyon. Next one involves something involving the Great Depression. Now, this was what I was mentioning earlier about these cultists. Somewhere along the way, it turns out that they either owned the land there or just pretty much usurped it. Like, in other words, they were just there as uninvited guests, but nobody was kicking them out at the time. And the story goes that they were there, nameless, almost like you couldn't find out who exactly they were, but they were all donning these black robes, almost like ceremonial black robes, and that they would do very, very bad things for their rituals, including both kidnapping children and then going through orphanages as well and kidnapping some babies there too. But it says that whatever they were doing there, as far as the rituals, summonings, anything else as far as like black magic type stuff, it turns out that it created just this very, very bad energy that was there. In fact, one really, really horrible story has to do with this. A local man was wandering through that place, and I don't know if he basically happened to fall upon them, or in other words, he was hearing all this noise and then decided to check something out. But that's when he saw a group of these cultists. They were there at that place there of Turnbull Canyon, and they had this boy hung on an upside down cross. Now, I don't know if the story goes that this poor boy, if he was already dead or if something bad was gonna happen to him, but that gives you an idea essentially of what these people were doing. Very bad things, and one can see why this location essentially has such bad juju associated with it too. Now, another urban legend tied to why this location has such bad vibes to it is this. At some point, especially in the 1940s, 1930s, it housed an insane asylum. The story goes that at this location, this was either an existing one or an abandoned one. I can't quite get the full details on it, but either way, though, there was a group of young boys who decided to go into the asylum. And so because there was no power there at the time, they wanted to start a fire, but it somehow got out of hand. And when that happened, that's when that location burned down. I get the sense that it might have been something where other people were there. Maybe they were there as well, either as an insane asylum that was actually existing and operating and so on, or maybe they were squatters. But either way, though, the story goes that when this happened, then some of those people died too, including one of those boys themselves. He was apparently electrocuted when he was trying to do something involving electricity within that location. So more links tied to having some kind of paranormal or some other type of supernatural aspect afterward. And then this other one actually really did happen within that location. This was more of a tragic accident. Back in 1952, there was Flight 416 that was flying over that spot, but originally coming from New York City. It ended up crashing right there on Turnbull Canyon, and when that happened, all 29 passengers on there ended up being killed. The tragic part, the really, really sad part, was that a majority of them were children. So the story goes, if you go here to Turnbull Canyon, you may actually have visitations associated with children, like in other words, children ghosts. And those are the ghosts that haunt that location ever since that tragic accident. And as such, who knows if they'll ever be released or if they're doomed to pretty much stay there forever. And then one other one has to do with this. This was back in 2009. There was a woman who was apparently there in that spot. I don't know if she was hiking there or if she was there visiting with friends. But as it turns out, that's when something actually almost like went to her throat. Like if it was like a throat, I don't know, like something involving strangling, something along those lines. Not only that, but this woman was violently thrown down a canyon, and she ended up surviving that particular ordeal, but it came with a lot of injuries and so on. And so this woman sought to seek help, like what was happening on there, but nothing came about, and it turns out that it could have been something paranormal, or it might have been linked to someone, a murderer that was in that location and just happened to be around and caused her the frightfulness of her life. But who knows if that one ended up having any kind of paranormal stance as well. But maybe there was something still very, very bad that happened in that location as far as the evilness tied to it, and that's what in turn was causing others to experience this type of misfortune. But yeah, that's some of the examples that are associated with Turnbull Canyon. You can stay there during the day or you can stay there at night. Who knows, you might have just a regular type of encounters, like if you go to any other type of hiking trail and so on, where it's just nice and peaceful and happy and you hear all the birds and insects and wildlife happening. Or you could have some of the other bad things associated with those aforementioned ghosts or cultists, or even those Native American curses, or the most deadliest one involving those murdering things, whatever they were, if it really was a real murderer or if it was a murdering type ghost. That's essentially what you can potentially find there at Turnbull Canyon. But if anybody has any more info, anything else I might have missed, please post those comments below. Hell's Gates, anyone there on the local level as well? Maybe you were there and happened to be visiting that location. Let me know. Let me know if you had any type of weird experiences. One last bit of trivia. It seems like this place, again, has so much encounters on YouTube, visitations on there too. So if anyone has any more info on that part, maybe you did one of those videos, let me know below. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.